Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good night, and welcome to another episode of War in the Webway. My name's Ollie. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Alan. Say hello, Alan.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us again. And as you can see, we're getting a bit slicker on this.
I was about to like, I think I'm starting to get there. So take
Despite the fact it's taken us about half an hour to get this episode started, but
yeah, but
let's not go there. Let's not go there. We're ready.
I mean, one day we'll start with an actual idea. Just there are podcasts out there, and I know there are people out there, and they script it all up. We don't do that. We literally start, and the first thing we go is, "What are we talking about tonight?" Yeah,
Yeah,
good,
and,
good
and I
plan.
think that's probably why, because it's very topical. Because we're not like set to a like we don't go, okay, the next 5 episodes are going to be A B C
Yeah,
D. We think, okay, what are people discussing? What are things going around on Reddit? What's new? What's all this going to happen and stuff like that. So I think it's quite good that way.
I think so. I've just had another idea for a video though, so I'll talk about that one offline. But today, it's with that in mind. It's a bit of a weird week because we thought there was going to be a balanced data slate last week, and we were like, "Oh, that'd be a good topic to talk about," and it didn't come. And LVO is next week, or this week, with list cut off soon.
It's this coming
It's
weekend.
this coming weekend, isn't it?
So so I'm hoping that they're going to do the slate because the lists are already submitted, right?
Exactly. So
So I'm hoping they're going to do it on Thursday.
yeah,
'Cause they normally do it Thursdays.
yeah. They normally do it Thursdays, but so it's just a bit of a weird one where things like we want to do like a tier list against armies we're good into and bad into and stuff, but that's so topical, and on Thursday that could be out of date. So we want to try and do something that's going to survive the data slate. Um, and so this week we want to go into a bit more detail about characters. We spoke about some characters. We spoke about characters that are really bad in our opinion, but kind of not in enough detail. So that's kind of the focus this week. Anything you want to say before we get into it?
No, not really. I think you've summed it up there. What I would say is the reason we think characters are going to be the same before and after the data slate is because we don't think there's going to be any changes around data sheets. We don't think there's going to be dramatic changes around, core rules or whatever.
Yeah,
So we actually think really the only change, if you go back and look at our predictions for the slate, we predict it's only going to be points.
yeah,
Now, points reductions would be nice. Potentially pointless increases in one or two for one or two of these guys, but it's not going to change the use in the army. And so we think that this is going to be relevant pre and post data sleep.
yeah. I agree. And I think that the things that we think are good, we'd still find the points for because it's datasheet specific. So I think with that, why don't we just get into it? We've got a nice little tier ranking. That's um, an edited version of the other tier system, but we kind of want to go from bottom up and talk about it in more detail about what these guys do, what they don't do, where we could try and use play with them. What, yeah. Well, let's just get into it. Let's talk about the Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle.
Cool,
Which,
let's go.
so the Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle was a staple of every list of 8th and every list of ninth. I used to run 3 of these guys. I thought they were fantastic. Love the models, think the quality. What did Games Workshop do to kill Custodes bikes? I do not understand it. The shooting's crap.
Yeah.
The combat's average, if anything. They're ridiculously expensive in points. With bikes only being able to be, is it 2 to 3? What's the bike unit? I'm sure.
Yeah, on the Verdus Brazers 2 to 3.
Yeah,
Funnily enough, on the Agamatus, it's still 3 to 6, I think.
but you can't take
And the Agamata,
you can't take the shield captain with the Agamatus, can you?
yeah, you can. It's got the same rule as like the guard.
Oh, got it. If you can take it with one, you
um,
can take it with the other. Got it.
yeah. So I think, okay, I used to run 2 of them, and it was back in the day when we could have 3 up invulnerable saves.
Eagle's Eye and Aura Aquilus, that one.
Yeah,
Yep.
those two. And it was before they then changed it and we could only have Eagle's Eye on a character, on a
Yep.
foot character,
Yep.
I think it was. after the 9th edition codex. So what in 8th edition, when we migrated into 9th edition, but pre-9th edition codex, we were still using the 8th edition code.
Yep.
And I ran 2. They were fantastic. They were great. I remember at the London Open when Admech came out, and that's when Admech were ridiculous. You were seeing these 150 Skitarii Admech lists going everywhere, and I ran 2 of them, and I beat a really strong Admech list with them, and it was all down to one of them surviving. And then he went over he just moved, and then he sniped out a character and charged a big blob, and they could no longer fall back and shoot because the character was dead.
Yeah.
So they were fantastic. That was the one you watched me and Nassim playing in the final.
Yes.
That was like really reliant on these guys.
Yep. Absolutely.
I
used to like him in 9th with Caesar's Hunter. You tag something, you then fall them back. Like these were such versatile pieces. Like, and such a core staple of so many. I know so many people that say I love Custodes because of the bikes, and so do I. I think they're fantastic. I don't. So if you're listening in and whatever, we've got these guys down at no play. Like there is no space for these guys in any list, casual or competitive, in my opinion, because their data sheets are awful. So for those that aren't massively aware, they can do the free CP strat, but on bikes, and Transhuman doesn't work on bikes, does it? Arcane Genetic Alchemy doesn't work on bikes.
Yeah, it's only infantry.
Yeah, it's only infantry. So you don't get the battle tactic that is useful for that. Swooping Advance, if it moves over models, it does. Is that right?
On a 2+, it's two models. Yeah.
Oh no. That's the bikes.
That's the unit. That's the bikes.
Yeah. He does while leading a unit each time it consolidates. You can do 6 instead of 3. Once we're battling the fight phase, you can fall back as if it were your movement phase. It's cute, but it's not. It's terrible. It is terrible. Salvo launcher is bad. 4 inches, one shot.
The only saving grace is the extra ability. You say once per game you can fall back as if you move the fight phase, but the second ability is actually interesting. It's if you're not in combat, the unit he's with can make a normal move at the end of the fight phase. So if you're hidden, you can at the end of because it doesn't specify which fight phase, right?
In addition, at the end of the fight phase, yeah.
Yeah, so you can, in turn 1, you can advance. Now that's going to auto 6 because of the data sheet, so you're going 18 inches. You can hopefully get into somewhere hidden. Then they go turn 1. At the end of their fight phase, when nobody's in combat, you then move 12 inches, because they only move 12 now. And then it's the start of your turn, so then you can move 12 inches. So you're going to have a lot of movement with these guys. The problem is they don't have enough teeth when they get there, and the shield captain doesn't increase. He helps you get into combat. He helps you get there with the unit, but it doesn't have the impact that it should do, right? Yeah. And the problem is the cost is far too expensive for doing this. And we said it on a previous thing. They need more. It needs more. We've been discussing, and we're going to talk about this when the datasheet drops. But when you look at the damage output on a datasheet, right, just looking purely at the datasheet, his damage or their damage is not bad in combat.
No,
so I've got lance, right?
It's
not bad.
It's not bad. As long as
it's not bad, right? But that's potential damage. When you look at actual damage, the actual damage that they're putting out on the battlefield, it's just non-existent. And because they're getting blown to pieces, so no one, any kind of competitive lists, they're not going in.
And you have to, so the sweeping advance, you have to be leading a unit, so you can't take him by himself anymore. You can't do the cute Caesar's Hunter disappearing or Aquila's bike zipping across the battlefield. He has to be leading a unit to get sweeping advance. It's just too many points, and so the balanced data slate isn't going to knock 50 points off him. It just isn't. So there is just no play for him. With how Fly's terrible now as well. I feel comfortable with saying he's got no play here. I've never seen a list with him in it. And it was literally overnight when 10th came out, everybody dropped him.
It's such a shame as well because they were.
They're a staple.
I mean, I can't believe that. I can't believe they were lower toughness than Alaris.
Oh, neither can I. I do not understand how in most factions you have a bike, you add a toughness, and Custodes you don't. It's such a weird data sheet.
Yeah.
Moves 12 rather than 14, so he's lost 2 inches of movement. I don't think they auto advance anymore, unless I'm missing it.
No, they do. They do. I think they do in the bike data sheet. So it's not the shield captains. It's in the Virtus Praetors data sheet.
That would mean he doesn't though. So he holds back bikes.
That would mean he doesn't unless.
Yeah,
so it's
he doesn't inherit the bike.
Yeah.
So. That's sorry. I've just got the index up. I'm just seeing if I can find if they actually auto advance.
No, so he doesn't. You look on his data sheet, he doesn't. But then you look on the bike data sheet, and it does give you it.
Yeah, so the bike's at turbo boost. It's such an inconsistently written rule set.
It's nuts. I can't get over what they were doing here. And it kind of beggars belief for me a bit. I mean, okay, if I had to run one and pimp him out, I would put him into a 2-man squad of 3-man squad or 2-man squad of Virtus Praetors, whatever, or probably a 3-man squad of the Agamatus, to be honest. And I would give him the Veil Blade.
Oh,
and
really?
I would just go and see what I can do.
So, would you find that a fun unit to use, or would you find that quite frustrating because you never make your points back?
Oh, incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
But his role would change. His role would be literally get 500 points of my army behind, or I think it's 240, 420 points plus 445 points of my army in my opponent's base in turn 1.
Yeah.
At the end of turn 1 in turn 2. Turn 2, that is, yeah, sorry. Just get them in the face and get him to deal with it. Problem is, he can deal with it.
Is there anything that you think... Is there any simple rule that could be fixed that you think could fix him? Because I think that Fly is the problem. If Fly was still the old Fly, I'd start to be like, I might be able to work out a way to have some fun with him. But because Fly is up and down and bases and the entire rule set, that sucks. He's mounted. He can't go through walls or anything else like that. Like everything is just a weakness for him now. Would the extra points help you? No. Would the extra 2 inches?
He needs 2 changes.
Go on.
2 changes. First change is him and the Virtus Praetors need to treat cover and units as if not there.
Yep.
So terrain and units. So in effect, they get the old fly back.
Yep.
That's what I think will fix the majority of it. And the second change is you need to sort out the shooting.
So okay, if they changed the first one, sorry, would you consider running him, or is he still too crap for that to happen?
He'd probably need to drop 20 points minimum, probably 40.
Yeah, fine. So actually, Fly doesn't sort him out. I completely agree. I agree with all that. I think the salvo launchers are terrible now. So he doesn't shoot. His combat's okay. There's just better options. Shall we move? I'm very aware we've got 8 to get through. 8?
Yeah, let's go for it. So, we probably spent a bit too long on that guy.
No. But we won't touch him ever again unless something radically different changes in the codex. That's 10th edition Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle, and it just breaks my heart. Shield Captain Alaris Terminator Armor. We've put him as no play, and we know that we've slagged him off before, and I think people are on board with it. But I think we want to go into a bit more detail about why. Because on his surface, again, we're talking about potential damage output versus actual damage output. He has a very similar output to a Shield Captain on foot, right? But he gets a grenade launcher. He can still do the strategic mastery, which all Shield Captains can, and if he's destroyed by a melee attack, on a 2+, he fights on death. You know, that's the character sheet that T7, 7 wounds, leadership 6, OC2, grenade launcher, shooting from the spear. His data sheet's not bad. Like, it isn't. I like being able to fight on death. If other stuff fights on death, we would consider that quite a strong data sheet. So what is our problem with him? One, he can only go with Alaris.
Yeah, one he can only go with Alaris. Another one, he's 140 points.
Yeah.
If you look at it, he's the price of 2 Alaris.
Which is insane.
Now, it's nuts. I don't know why they've... Well, no, I'm not going to go down that route. But you look at the number of attacks he's got. He's got 7, while 2 Alaris have got 10.
Yeah.
Right. He's got Defiant to the last. That's only if he hasn't fought.
Yeah. And he doesn't give it to the unit either.
He doesn't give it to the unit either. So you're probably going to either pop. Let's be honest, right? If you're getting into combat if someone's charging you into these guys, they're making a mistake. Okay, because you're probably going to fight first. Right? So they're going to shoot him to death, which means this guy is not going to fight. If you get into combat, then you're going to fight, and when he gets killed, say for example you go into something you don't kill, and then they pick you up. He's not going to fight because he's on death because he's already fought. So it's kind of like fantastic. So it's a really difficult one, and he's just nowhere near where he needs to be.
Yeah,
nowhere near.
I think it's funny because I try and look at this as objective as possible and ignore what I've said before and try and look at it with fresh eyes. The movement 5 sucks. I always liked the fact that in old codexes in 8th and 9th, the Terminators moved the speed of the Guard, because the idea was that they were better equipped, better armour. It was a better made Terminator, for want of a better word. And so, to lose an inch doesn't sound like a lot, but there's no advance on charge with anything you can do. We've been criticised for saying that they start on the board and waddle up the board, but let's say they come in from Deep Strike, or you do them from Golden Light, which he doesn't have, but he must inherit from the other Alaris, right? The other Alaris must be unit.
Is that right? Yeah.
Okay, in which case, okay, so Turbo Boost, the Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle must inherit Turbo Boost. I'll take that back. So if you from Golden Light him, he can move around the battlefield, but once he's done his trick, he then waddles around a bit for 5 inches. If you advance him, you can shoot and do actions and whatever, but he's just not good. For 140 points, he's so expensive.
He doesn't get you points back. He does not get you points back. And if you put him in with a large unit, then you're inflating that unit's points so much that it's just you're making it even more of a glass cannon.
Yeah, I know. Is there an enhancement that makes him better? Because I was thinking Ceaseless Hunter, right? So if you can make your charge and you get in their lines and you can make fall back and you can just be kind of an annoying roadblock, that's the only way I think I could run him. But he's 170 odd points. He buys time for other things, but I don't understand him. I don't understand how to get the best out of him. And it sucks. We've spoken about it before how much I love the model and the Alaris models, but you're never taking him with the axe, unfortunately, because the spear is just better. Defiant to the last is cute, but if he gave it to the rest of the unit, that'd be amazing. We could definitely rank him as maybe potential could be considered, but it's only on himself. Like you say, you're probably fighting first with him on an objective. Just
would you consider Veilblade? Would you consider Veilblade with him?
I think Veilblade works better on other data sheets, right? So a Blade Champion with Veilblade would always be better than a Shield Captain in Alaris with Veilblade. And if you got the points to do the enhancement, you're never putting on him.
Yeah. What about if you did do Ceaseless Hunter? What would you envisage? I can't see that working at all with him, to be honest.
So I'm thinking he's in the brick that we've already spoke about that we don't like. But let's play it like that's the way you go play him. He's in the brick. you can make your 9-inch charge. So you rapid ingress him, because you're not rapid ingressing the Wardens like we've been told you don't do. But you rapid ingress him down. He moves out. He gets his charge off. He then survives a turn of shooting deep in their lines, falls back and goes off someone else. And if somebody comes after him, he can then move, and then he can guarantee the charge. So he's acting like just like a roadblock. And if you can get a space deep in the lines or straight in front of something that needs to move out and try and hold an objective, I think he can survive. I think he can be annoying, but I don't think he's point efficient.
Yeah, still, I was going to say 140 points. That's a shocker.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what Games Workshop were doing on when they thought about this data sheet, especially in the last slate when they put him up 20 points, I think it was.
Yeah. So
I genuinely can't understand what was going through the balance team's way of thinking. I genuinely can't. The only thing I can think of is they were seeing lists that were running a lot of these guys, and they were linking that to the win rate, where the win rate was purely because of other factors. This guy was not contributing to the win rate, I can tell you that now. So I think that's the only reason this guy was hit. Probably same with the shield captain.
So
on Dawn Eagle.
he's so the shield captain on foot and in Terminator armor is the same points, right? They're both 140.
Yeah, 140, yeah.
Right. And so you've got a shield captain that can go with more units versus one that has an extra point of toughness and one less movement. I don't understand the balance. I don't understand how they're thinking that, oh yeah, that's interchangeable. It's a really...
He's the only HQ that we have, right, that doesn't give a unit that we're with a unit that he's with a viable buff. He gives them the free strat. Yeah, the free strat. Yeah, but what I'm talking about is an actual buff.
Yeah, because
there's ways around the free strat, ways around it. They target the unit that has a blade champion first, so you have to pop the strat on him.
Yeah.
Then you can't use it free, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? You can't then use it for free. If I'm top of my head.
No, so
no. It's the way around, isn't it?
Yeah.
The way around.
So just to explain that. So the way the wording is if you have a ability that uses a stratagem for free, the way to get around that is you target that one first. So say you got a unit with Blade Champion with Wardens and a unit with a Shield Captain with Alaris, and the strat you want to use is Arcane Genetic Alchemy. Because the Shield Captain can do it for free, if you target the Blade Champion first, you can use the CP, and then you can use it on the Alaris. If you use the Alaris first and he pops the free strat, you cannot pay for the CP to do it on the Blade Champion squad. Because the way the wording is, you can't use the stratagem twice, but the Alaris overrules that. The Shield Captain overrules that ability. So if you're trying to target something that has that phase activation, Chaos Lord, Shield Captain, etc., the way you do it is you find the one that can do it for free, you make them pop it, and they then can't reuse it. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. It's perfect. So you end up having this choice, and say for example, if we've got a blade champion with a guard unit or a warden squad,
Yep.
It kind of forces you to use other defensive measures, which could then force you to use the 4+ feel no pain, because the other issue is you've got to choose other buffs, and when do you do the buffs? At the start of the phase, do the stratagem when a unit's targeted. So getting your kind of process right here, your process of operations, is critical. And this guy, going back to that point where I said he doesn't give anything to his unit, he doesn't increase their offensive ability, because we're using those stratagems really in a defensive way.
Yeah.
So you look at the other guys. I mean, even the shield captain on jet bike lets you make forwards. A 12-inch move in your opponent's fight phase,
or fall back.
Or fall back. So he's having a dramatic impact on the squad he's with. He's still terrible. But then you look at the shield captain on foot. He gives you 2 Katars, if not all 3, for once again.
Yep. Yep.
That's huge. That's massive.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I was
then
just thinking that. Yeah, yeah. It's a fair point.
Blade Champion as well, Advance and Charge. So this
Yeah.
guy is like the worst one possible
For the same
for
points as someone else,
incre-
but
yeah. It's whenever I see a one of these in a list, I always think, oh, credit to whoever's running them because they obviously like them and they're doing it for all the cool, blah blah blah. But then I also kind of have a little shiver inside because I know that.
oh, you judgmental man. But I'm going to say the same thing because it's true. But again, don't wanna, I think we've done this one now in previous videos and here. But my final thoughts are, I it's a very interesting and very astute thing to say that he doesn't buff the offensive output of the unit he's in. Because you're right, Master of Stances with the main shield captain, Blade Champion Advance and Charge, Trajan being the ignore modifiers, all the other characters that can go with Custodies in units, buff the unit. If they change to him to fight on death for the unit, I think that's massive, but actually it's also in line with the rest of the Custodies. It just kind of doesn't make sense that it's only on him. I don't understand that.
Yeah, they would need more than just that because the issue
Sure.
is they would need something where the help guarantee, like in 8th, we used to be able to drop 3 inches away.
Yeah.
Up until our codex in 9, we could drop 3 inches away. They need a mechanism to get this guy and his unit into combat, and then, I'm wish listing here for the codex. We need a mechanism to stop our opponent from falling back. You see this on other. In other factions where, you need to take a battle shock test. If you fail it, you can't fall back, or stuff like this. We need something similar for Custodes because we are all about the combat phase, and unless you spec outside of that heavily, but I would say then you're missing our real strengths. But at the moment, it's too easy for people to stay out of combat with a lot of our big units. So that needs addressing in the codex, but we'll do like a video around what we want to be in the codex. Because to be brutally honest, we have no idea what's coming.
Yeah. Until they start
Okay,
leaking.
let's move. Let's move on.
I was going to say one last thing. The thing that I really miss about 10th and Custodes is Tanglefoot Grenade. So I'd like to see them use a grenade launcher and actually have a reason for it, i.e. something like Tanglefoot Grenade. And maybe you link that in with you can't fall back, with there's a fallback or desperate escape test or something. But if you want them to have, he's the only thing that can have a grenade launcher, but the Alaris can have a grenade launcher. So make the grenade launcher cool. And we already had that previously, and they got rid of it, and it makes me sad.
It needs to be a AP3, AP2 or 3.
AP2 or 3 again. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, next one. Knight Censura could be considered as where we put them, and I'm not 100% on these because I know we've gone backwards and forwards a bit. And I know you've used her and tried to use her. So, do you want to take it? You tried to use her with the Vigilators, right?
Yeah, I did. I think the movement she gave me, the reach that unit had was just insane.
Yep.
So for everyone watching, I had a Knight Centura with 9 Vigilators and a Rhino.
Yep.
And I went to an RTT, and I was reliably, if I moved up my Rhino towards the middle or hid it behind the middle piece of terrain on my side of the board. But anyone who's familiar with UKTC terrain, you'll know what I mean.
Small worlds.
Anyone who's not, you can see online. But if I hit it there, then in my preceding turn, I could basically get anywhere I wanted to go onto any objective on the board. I mean, in our game, Ollie, I kind of threw them away by mistake, but they got on your backfield objective from that location.
Yep.
And quite easily, only needed a 6 on the advance, and they tore apart your cultists at the back. I mean, you killed them straight away afterwards, but the reach on these girls is humongous. It was 20.
Is that her?
A lot of points.
Oh, it's the 2 inch of extra movement, right? And 2 inch advance.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So in effect, so that outside of a Rhino, they go obviously 3 and 6, so it's 9 plus 2. So they go 11 inches outside of a Rhino. Then you've got your charge, and you've got +2 to your charge. So all of a sudden, if you need like an 8-inch charge to get on, so you're 19 inches away from that rhino, that means I need an 8-inch charge. Well, no, I don't. I need to roll 6 on the dice.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's massive. So to get 19 into a unit that's 19 inches away from me, from the middle of the board, that's any objective you're getting onto, basically. They're not bad in combat. The only problem is they don't have the number of attacks they need to have.
Yeah, 3 attacks, but 50. It's 50 points, right? That's what she is.
Yeah, she's 75 points, I think.
Is she?
Yes,
Jesus,
it's nuts.
she's
It's
75
nuts.
points. I thought she was 50.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take back that point now. Yeah, 75
No,
points.
she's dreadful. She's dreadful. But the only other good thing about this one is that if you want to fall back, you've got to take a desperate escape test, and if you're battle shocked, you've got to subtract 1. So if you go if you go into a if you go into a unit of Wraith Guard, for example, with this squad, and you have anti-psycho 4+ dev wounds, she gives you all that. The squad are also hitting into them. They're going to kill a couple because the unit's probably going to be a psycho unit because of the spirits here.
Yeah.
So you've got dev wounds, so you're going to do a lot of damage. Not a reasonable amount of damage. You're probably going to kill 3 or something like that. Now, when they do a desperate escape, if they fail a battle shock, say they're below half strength, or you force them to take a battle shot some other way, if they fail that, and then decide to fall back out of combat with you, for every 1, 2, or 3 rolled on the dice, for every single model they have, it's a dead model.
Which is massive. Like, they can spike up.
Yeah.
At 50 points, I think she goes higher on our list. At 75, that's so many points for 3 attacks.
In order to go up, she would need to drop, and her squad that she would go into would need to drop. 2 would need to drop together. And then you have to take a rhino. So the whole package becomes almost 270, 280 points, which, if you think about it, you could have a 5-man warden squad for that.
Yeah.
So it's just not comparable. Yeah.
So again, just to be clear, she can take 3 weapon options: a bolt gun, the flamer, or the combat, or the great blade. We're always taking the great blade, right? And it's cycle 4+ dev wounds.
Yeah, and she's got scout 6, so if you stick her with a witch seeker squad, they can still scout.
Yeah.
And so, it depends what you want to do, what you want to use it for. The extra flamer can be nice to go up to a 5-man flamer, but you're usually taking the sword just in case someone, like, say for example, someone gets a few intercessors into you, or some infiltrators, or some scouts, or whatever. They've got a little bit of teeth in combat. She's maybe picking up 1 or 2. So that's the principle behind that.
It makes sense, but just even looking at her abilities, they're just so much better than the Alaris and Shield. Like, they're so much better than the 2 we carried, right? She buffs her units by extra movement. She buffs her units by not being able to fall back. She buffs her units by having the field of pain against psych attacks, which we haven't even got into, but I really, 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 really hate how Anathema Psychana, I don't even know the way of saying it, Sisters of Silence, are no longer immune to psychic. The entire principle, the entire fluff is they are nulls and blanks. That means they're not affected by psychic attacks. I don't understand how they got a 3+ ability against psychic attacks. It doesn't make sense to me. I so much prefer their old rules.
Yeah, exactly. And what doesn't make sense even more is that they've changed all psychic to be targetable.
Yeah.
So you can then go, for example, smite is like a shooting attack now.
Yeah.
So it's no longer the closest, right? So if you can get around it, previously in other editions, if I put this unit closer, no one could smite. They wouldn't be able to smite because this would be the closest unit.
And they are blanks. That was the point. That was such a...
even the Collector's Assassin. The Collector's Assassin can be killed with psychic attacks. Yes, he's got a 2-up feel no pain against psychic attacks, but he can be killed with psychic attacks, which is completely against every part of fiber of fluff that I have in my mind of this. So yes, it's shocking.
Okay, so
that they've done that.
okay, she she doesn't go with prosecutors because she doesn't get the best out of prosecutors. She might go with witch seekers if there's a reason for her. But vigilators is probably the best way of running her, and you're not really running vigilators that often. That's why she's quite low down on the could be considered kind of fun. Tried her out. It's okay. Kind of feeling, right? You would never recommend her running it, but if she went down in points, maybe, and her unit went down in points, and her rhino went down in points, now you're thinking, could I get the best out of this? Would that be
Yeah,
fair?
and I'm yeah, 100%. I'm going to make a prediction on the Horus Heresy,
Yeah.
the um the booklet that they released where it had Sisters of Silence and it had Custodian Guard, the latest edition, I think it
Yeah, yeah,
was,
yeah.
or the latest data sheet collection. They had a load of Sisters units
The sisters on
in
bikes.
that. Sisters on bikes, Sisters
Yeah.
with different weapons. They had all those data sheets, but no models. I think they're going to release more models for the Sisters of Silence, and I think it's going to be almost like they're going to solve the issue of what do they release for Custodes.
With sisters.
Let's instead of they're going to solve it with Sisters.
So I
And
always like the sisters transport. You know the one that looks a bit like an arrowhead. But you can never play it in 40k. It's a heresy model.
yeah, I love that. It's bloody expensive though.
Oh, it's Forge World Custodians. Yeah, but I always loved
Yeah, it's
that, and
crazy.
I hate that there was never an option for it.
Yeah, I think also the one where they can have two bolt pistols. It's like an add-on sprue, like an upgrade sprue.
Okay,
You could put for the sisters where they've got two bolt pistols. They
I've never
never
seen
created
that.
the rules. Yeah, they've never made the rules for them. But it was great because they were running around with like two pistols. They would have been dreadful unless they'd given them good rules. But yeah, they have so much potential, and they've just never. Well, I said they've never, but they're still relatively new as a faction, aren't they? So I'm
Yeah,
hoping
and
they're gonna beef them out.
I think both our lists always have some sisters in there, so they always have like the potential. But Centuras are just never. They even though their buffs are quite good, they're too expensive for what they do. So points dependent. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll come back to that. Maybe we put them back in a could be considered or higher hazard play. Alea. Let's talk about Alea quickly because there's a lot of the similar stuff to the Centura. But there's also a lot of different stuff, right? So Alea only has Somnus, only got 4 attacks. That seems really low, but damage 3 at -3. It's nice. It's cute. Devastating wounds, anti-psycho. Still at 3+ feel no pain against psych attacks. They got fights first. So she gives fights first to her unit. So the Alara Shield Captain doesn't do fight on death, but she does fights first to her entire unit. That's insane. And then
But also, it's nuts that she's got AP3.
she's got
It's
AP3.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
The only other AP3 in the whole army sheet. I mean, she's got more
is that
AP
Trajan?
than an Achilles Dreadnought and an Achilles and a Galatus. She's got more AP than a Telemon.
That's incredible. She has as well. You're right. Bloody hell! They did not know what they were doing with her, did they? And then the last one, Tenacious Spirit. Well, she's leading a unit. Each time a model in this attack makes a unit +1 to hit, start below slight strength, and +1 to wound if below half strength. Okay, so we got her slightly higher than the Knight Centura. She's very expensive again, right? She's 80 points, so 5 points more than Centura, which you probably think is fair if you think the Centura is good at 75, but we don't. Any play for her? Have you tried to use her in 10th yet?
I've used her once, and I put her with a unit of Witch Seekers, and so she got Scout 6. And the whole principle was that she was basically going into or being like a bit of a seeing what she could do with the damage 3 into screening units or into a unit that someone's rushed forward. I wanted to see how she'd do into Wraithguard.
Yeah.
Because of the damage 3 and anti-psycho 4+ dev wounds. The problem is she hits on 2s, you're going to roll a 1.
Yeah.
It's anti-psycho 4+. You're going to roll at least 1 or 2 1s and 1, 2 or 3s. So she's only killing one of them. So she
Which
just
isn't
kind
bad
of
for 80 points,
didn't work.
but she doesn't get your points back again. It's
Nah.
Yeah. Okay. She suffers the same problems as the Centura. We do quite a lot on the Centura. Shall we move on to next one up? I think
we're starting to get into the good.
This is the has play category, and I think people might get a bit offended where we put T-Man as the bottom of the has play.
Purely because of his points. Well, no, it's 2 reasons to be honest.
I was going to say
and it's ignoring modifiers.
Yeah, so it's the UKTC ruling about what ignore modifiers means, which is why we've put it where he puts.
Well, they've come out and clarified that now. That it is correct. That GW. Yeah, they did it in the that World Champions. The Champions Cup or whatever. They released like a mini FAQ for it, and a mini FAQ for it, and within that FAQ they say he doesn't ignore modifiers on weapons. So he only ignores like modifiers like your movement, your toughness, your OC, that kind of stuff.
So for those of you that aren't aware, so his Captain General ability allows him to ignore modifiers, and there was a question whether or not he ignores damage modifiers, but he doesn't, because he only ignores the thing on the top line, the movement, toughness, save, wounds, leadership, OC modifiers, right? He doesn't ignore anything below that. So
he doesn't ignore dice roll, so he would ignore -1 to hit, but he doesn't ignore -1 to ballistic skill or weapon skill.
Or -1 damage, right? -1 damage.
Or he doesn't ignore -1 damage. He doesn't ignore minuses to your AP.
Yep.
He doesn't ignore if someone says I'm going to minus your strength or minus your attacks. He doesn't ignore any of that.
So it's a really weird ruling. It's a really weird ruling. If he did, he'd be much higher, right? He'd be auto take, even at the points that level he's at the moment. Would that be fair?
I think he would, because there's a lot of factions that are heavily reliant on -1 damage at the moment.
Yep.
I mean, Death Guard are doing quite well, and that -1 damage really sucks. And -1 damage to us is so debilitating.
Because everything is 2 for 2, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and also, if he did ignore Armor of Contempt, for example, then, we're not AP1 into Space Marines.
Yep. Yeah.
But unfortunately, I mean, his data sheet is great. His moment shackle is fantastic.
Have you ever not used double attacks?
I've used Fight First.
Really?
A couple of times. Yeah, a couple of times where I didn't have the CP.
Okay.
But I think the 2-up invulnerable save has a lot of play, but I've just never found myself in a situation where, because you need to do it at the start of a phase.
So,
and
I think the 2+ invuln sucks because he has a bodyguard unit, so you can't elect to take the wounds on him. If you could pop the 2+ invuln and then take the wounds on him, I would say that's an amazing part of the moment shackle. You basically are popping the 2+ invuln and then hoping that enough of your stuff dies, and then whatever's left over in a fight phase, because it's a fight phase thing. So whatever's left over in the fight phase has enough to get through his bodyguard unit and then start to challenge him on a 4+ invuln. I don't like that. I think that if his 2+ invuln allowed him to tank it, that'd be amazing.
It should be. They should have made it at any point.
Yep.
The 2+ invuln is one of those things, like we said, where you look at potential versus actual. The potential impact of that invulnerable save is humongous.
Mm-hmm.
The actual application of it is dreadful.
Yeah.
It's a real tough one, and I think that's the problem.
Unless somebody goes into you with precision, and they've got a bunch of precision, and then you pop your 2+ invuln, keep them alive, and then hope to tank the rest of it. But I don't see that much precision.
There's not. I don't, off the top of my head, I can't see someone with precision who's going to get through 4-up invuln, 7 wounds with a 5-up feel no pain.
No.
So he's still probably going to survive.
So yeah, I agree.
And even then, you can layer that with -1 damage
Yeah,
if you've
yeah,
got the
yeah.
CP. But I think you're right. The 12 attacks is the best thing because, again, what does he give you that a lot of other factions don't give you, or a lot of other data sheets don't give you? That's the damage 3. We don't have access to damage 3 outside of dreadnoughts
Hmm.
and one other character, which is the Blade Champion. So he gives you access to that, and damage 3 at the moment very topical. There's lots of damage 3 models hanging
Three
around.
wounds. Yeah, yeah.
Even in yep, there are 3-1 models hanging around. Even into vehicles.
Yeah.
Toughness 8, toughness 9 vehicles, toughness 10 vehicles. He's all right. Because you only need a few through, and then all of a sudden, that's most of the wounds gone.
So,
So he gives you that extra. Oh,
I was gonna say. So, are you running him with guard for the reroll wounds on everything? 12 attacks rerolling wounds is tasty. Or are you running him with wardens?
I would run him with guard
So would
because
I.
the wardens. Um,
Benefit from the blade champion.
he Yeah, the wardens benefit much more from the blade champion because you're going to be offensive with your wardens to such a degree as you need to get them into a position where they can smash something and then survive.
Yeah.
God are not going to survive. Um, God are not going to survive because A, they don't have the -1 to wound if the strength is higher than the toughness, and they haven't got the 4 on the pain.
Yeah,
Um,
I think with wardens and the 4+4 on the pain, if you can target it right, and Trajan stays around for longer, so like there is in my head, it's my head canon, a decent chance he gets 3 fight phases with wardens, whereas he might only get 2 with guard, depending on how you roll, depending on what goes into him, blah 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 blah. But if one of those you're fighting twice on, and like yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to work out in my head which way around. But I think I agree. I think with guard, rerolling all wounds with 6 attacks or 12 attacks, strength 10 -2 for 3, real tasty.
yeah, I mean, as long as the delivery mechanism's there. If the delivery mechanism is there for him to get into combat with a Warden squad, I'd probably say the Wardens. But the reason I'm saying Blade Champion is because the Blade Champion, in and of himself, gives that mechanism to that unit.
Not even at the blade champion bit, yeah, but yeah. I understand.
Yeah,
I
do you know
understand
what I mean?
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I understand what you mean. Okay, so are you putting Trajan in a list at the moment? Are you starting the list with Trajan? Are you thinking about him after you've done a list, or are you kind of not at the moment because his points are too prohibitive?
Yeah, I'm not thinking about him at all. He hasn't made a list since the data sheet.
Yeah, I agree.
It's late.
Yeah, I agree. What 160 is too many points for him. What would be a fair point score? 140.
I would say
So, sorry, if I answer my own question, then I'll come to you. I think it depends. If the Blade Champion goes up by 20, then Trajan becomes more attractive at 160. But the 40-point difference between a Blade Champion and Trajan it's a gulf.
I think a Blade Champion's correctly pointed at 120 because it's a once.
Yeah.
If anything, it's a once a game thing. I would
So
drop him maybe 10 points.
that's never gonna happen. But
Mm.
I wish that
It's
did.
not, but I would drop him. I would drop him 10 because he doesn't give the free strat.
Yep.
But I would 10. The Trajan I would drop to 130 or 140. That's where I'd drop him.
What are you dropping a shield captain to then?
I'd drop a shield captain to 120, roughly where the Blade Champion is now.
Okay.
Where he was. Where he
So-
was.
So
The reason he was so good was he 130 before? Was he
I
120
think it was
before?
130, but I might be making that up.
Okay, I would drop him down because the reason he was so good was because he was using his buffs on a 10-man squad.
Got it.
Um,
Yeah.
and
It's a fair point.
you know what I mean?
They've increased the points for something they can no longer do, and therefore you don't get the benefit from him anymore, but you're still paying the points for him. It's like you're paying a tax for what used to be good. So just in terms of like the high level there, Blade Champ at 110, Shield Captain at 120, Trajan at 130. That's what you would have as an
Yeah,
aggressive.
and I'd leave Valerian where he is at 115.
That's a great. To be fair, Valerian at 115 is an absolute bargain. Should we get into Valerian? I'm aware that this is running on, so if you made it this far, thank you. We've got 3 left to do. We'll try and whiz through these because we've spoken at length about at least 2 of these units, but we do want to cover them, so that way we've got 1 reference point. So Valerian 115 is incredible. Jesus Christ, I need to get my Valerian out.
He is. So I ran him at LGT,
Yeah.
and when I played into, who did I play into? It was game Orcs. That's what it was, Orcs.
Oh, serious?
And yeah, he just all the AP they were throwing at me. I was just like, yep.
Because the choppers are -1, right? So you're just like, right, I take 2 plus saves on all these saves.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, whatever.
Jeez.
And his unit just went through squad after squad. It was nuts. And then when I went into GSC in game 5, sorry, he just soaked up. His squad just soaked up everything. In the end, he was surrounded on his own, surrounded by a blob, because as well, it's his own little buffs. So, for example, he gives you that. You can turn a dice to a 6. He gives you that 1 free reroll per turn, I think it is. So
per battle round. So you get a free reroll.
Per battle round.
You then get once per battle a hit roll, wound roll, save roll to change to 6. So again, for those that might not be aware of him, Gnosis is basically the same as a Guardian Spear, but 1 extra shot. Strength 4 -1, 2 damage. In combat, 7 attacks. Strength 8. -3, 2 damage. So he's another unit with -3. If you want to pay 6+, leader. The reason why he's quality is his golden laurels. So that is every time he leads, each time a melee attack targets that unit, worsen the AP by 1. So if you're going into anything with AP 1, bunch of chainswords, bunch of choppers, bunch of whatever, -1 AP. You get free armor contempt for what he leads, and you're running him with guard, aren't you?
Well, I did run him with Wardens at LGT,
and
he did really well with them. Yeah, he did really well with them. I ran him with I've run him with Guard as well. He was with them. I mean, I've had him where he's been hit by a 10-man squad of Terminators with Thunderhammers, and I put -1 to hit on me, so they're hitting on 5s.
Yeah.
And I'm getting 3 up saves because they're only AP 2.
Yeah.
And the guy was fishing for dev wounds, and the guy was fishing for. It was back when we had to 4-up Feel No Pain on dev wounds.
Yeah.
So the guy just bounced, and I just went through him like he didn't exist. Again, into topical units, topical factions. Going into Black Templars. A lot of that's combat based. World Eaters, a lot of that's combat based. World Eaters got a lot of AP 1. All the Berserkers are AP 1.
Yeah.
Well, against this guy's going to be AP 0, right?
That's incredible.
So, he is really good, and I think 115 points is great, because I do not really think a Blade Champion at 120 is great.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't want to take, say, 3 and you only had 2, but you needed another custodian character for another Warden squad, then I think this guy is great, because he gives you that just little bit of utility. Because if you had a tournament and you got 3 Warden squads, and then you go in, you get drawn into a melee army, then bang, this guy's down, and it's just nuts. Yeah. And it's all of a sudden your opponent's like, oh god, what am I going to do against that squad? And then you can use his squad as your, the tip of the spear.
I was going to say he soaks so much damage, right?
Oh yeah. Swings and roundabouts. If you go into someone like Guard, it's going to be pointless, because if they're getting, what they're getting into combat with you with a tank, it's not going to be much.
Yeah, it's true. It's fair. Okay. So runs with Guard, runs with Wardens, 115 points is such a. I can see him going up in points. I don't understand why he's so much cheaper than a shield captain, personally. 25-point difference between him and a shield captain. That's insane.
Yeah, it's probably the free strat thing. That's probably what they're doing it for. I can see him going up in points to like 125 or something.
Yeah.
I would hate that, but that's where I think he's going to go.
I second that. I think he is too cheap, and I think that if Shieldy's come down by 10, I think he goes up by 10. So he's still slightly cheaper than Shieldy, but yeah. Okay, we got 2 left. Should we just whistle through these?
Let's do it. Blade, no, it's not Blade Champion. Captain. It's Shield Captain.
Shield Captain is an auto take. I mean, if you're listening to this, it's good chance you know what Shield Captain does for Custodes. So let's not spoon feed him. He's incredible. He's an absolute force multiplier. He's incredible. His Master of Stances is epic. So start fight's phase. It's like 1 Qatar. Until the end of the phase, that's active in addition to the one that's already active, right? So you get 2 active Qatars, and once per battle he gets all 3 for his unit. It's just, and that's every fight phase you get 2 of the Qatars. So you're always being, if you're going into melee armor, you're always -1 to hit, and then you get sustains, probably, depending on what you're fishing for. Is that how you use them? You're using sustained and -1.
It depends. I mean, if I'm into a combat army, it's always -1, and then if I'm into vehicles or monsters, I'll do the lethal.
Yeah.
If it's not them, then I'll do the plus sustained. But it's kind of like a bit of a catch-22. We want our wardens with our blade champions. However, this guy going into a blade champ,
A warden.
buffs the wardens in a different way.
Yeah.
Blade champions into wardens gives them so much speed. You get places serious impact, game-winning moves. This guy with wardens increases their damage output in a way that the blade champions doesn't.
100%.
And it's through this ability. And so when you're doing, this is where the list construction element comes in. When you're building your list, you need to think, okay, what do I want my wardens to achieve? What do I need them to do on the battlefield? Do I need them to take an objective and hold an objective, survive? And that objective on the tables that I play doesn't have a lot of cover. I need them. Okay, so they're going to have to survive. I'm going to give them a blade champion just so they can get there. Just so that I can make sure I get it. Do I need them to be a bit more offensive, and then I can potentially, use free strat to help me get there because it may take me an extra turn in the open? Then you'd use a shield captain. But it's really what you want them to achieve, because I've had times where I've thrown my wardens in and they've just bounced, and I've been left there with, oh crap, my 5 wardens and a blade champion couldn't kill like 10 marines or something.
Yeah.
And there's been other times where the blade champion on his own and 1 warden have killed like 10 berserkers.
Yeah.
And I've got 4 wardens where I've just got I've got 20 dice. I just oh god, damn it, I can't roll these. So it's very swingy. If you've got this guy with warden, he stops that.
I was going to say we've discussed it before in a different episode, but we've said that kind of the best way is to mix and match. And if you're taking 3 warden blocks, which I think we both rate as a way, 2 blade champions and 1 shieldy. If you're taking 2, would you run 1 and 1, or would you always run 2 blade champions?
I run a Coronis, so I bring them out of the Coronis. So I would have 2 with shield captain, blade champions.
I was going to say 2 with shield captain. Yeah.
No, 2 with blade champions. I don't. In my lists at the moment, there's no space for a shield captain. The downsize is that 140 points. If you put Veiled Blade on him, he's 165 points.
Yeah, he's
170 if he's Ceaseless Hunter. That is, you're starting to get into the realms of 170 points. You should be getting a lot more than what he gives you.
Yeah, and I think I can see him coming down in points a little bit. not massive, but a little bit. I think I would always run him. I would always take 2 and 1, or I would take 1 and no. I would always take 2 and 1, and then I take 2 guard squads. So if I take the 3 wardens, I can mix and match as I want them. Or if I take 2 wardens, I can always put a blade champion with a guard squad if I need him to just be a bit punchier. And if I need to tank something, then I can put him with the warden squad. Otherwise, I'll always take 2 wardens, 2 blade champions. But he has use in an army, and because you select his bodyguard at the start of a battle, you can make him flexible. So you can put him with wardens and guard 3 times in 2 times in a 5 game tournament. So he is flexibility incarnate for us, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so look at it like this. You slap him with Ceaseless Hunter, he's 170 points.
Mm-hmm.
In your list construction, how many times have I got down and I've got like 20 points left or something?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I need to work this out. Valerian is 55 points cheaper.
Yeah, I know.
It's 55 points cheaper. Now, yes, this guy is better with Ceaseless Hunter, definitely. Without Ceaseless Hunter, there's a bit of an argument there. That 55 points, it's a lot of points difference.
It is. Okay, let's say he comes down 10, Valerian goes up 10, Ceaseless doesn't change. What are you thinking?
I would... It's a little bit of a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tough because the way I play Valerian is a lot better for me. But broadly speaking, this guy pips Valerian.
Got it.
The issue is if you start to then put enhancements on this guy, you lose that kind of like. Ceaseless Hunter's great, it's fantastic. Is it worth 30 points? I'm not. Depends how you play. Depends on your terrain. Is your terrain near objectives? If it is near objectives, then yes, Ceaseless Hunter is potentially good. But is Ceaseless Hunter better on a blade champion with a warden squad, or is Veiled Blade better on a blade champion again with a warden squad? Which one,
Yeah. So a lot of your lists that you build don't have Ceaseless, and I understand it. It's a lot of points of what it is. I think Ceaseless Hunter telegraphs a certain play. On a shield captain, as you're saying, very strong. But it does tell your opponent that you're hoping he survives, and then he can piss off. If a shield captain with Ceaseless comes down in my lines, I'm trying to kill him, so he can't do the shenanigans, and you've just wasted points. That's like a target priority for me. It's like putting a big stamp on your forehead.
Yeah. Big taken on that. I think it's meta dependent, local meta dependent.
Yeah.
If you're into lots of melee armies,
yes,
then this guy is probably not where you want to go down. If you're into hordes, this guy is what you want. And if you're into shooty armies, this guy's what you want.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summation. Like, he's not bad into melee armies, but I just think there's better choices.
Much better choices.
I'm feeling bad now that he's an auto take. I think he goes down to has play, because it's dependent if you take Valerian or him, and T-Man Trojan is somebody you just look at.
I think he literally just pips Valerian because.
But he's not an auto take necessarily.
He's not necessarily, but you're right. He's not necessarily an auto take, but he just pips Valerian. And as we had it nice and neat with 2 in each faction, we kind of had to put him at the top.
Whoa. That just makes us sound lazy, which we are. But I wasn't too lazy to go fix it, because, he's fine where he is. I would always build a list with 2 blade and him, personally. But having spoken about it tonight, Valerian is so appealing. Okay, it's been an hour. If you've made it this far, congratulations. We will spend 5 minutes on a Blade Champion and why he's fantastic, and then we'll wrap up. Blade Champion is an auto take. There's no 2 ways about it. He's incredible.
100%. 100%. You should have 2.
Yes.
All of my lists have 2.
Yeah.
He's great. I wrote a comment back to someone onto YouTube once I've commented, and I said, you know, you when you look at a unit at any of our data sheets that this guy can go with,
Yeah.
right? Most of our other HQs, we spoke about it earlier today, right? Most of our other HQs add abilities, which are good abilities. But this ability that it gives them, the advance and charge, is a whole nother level.
Yeah. So
And
his multiplication on threat ranges is huge, and if you flay that over with rapid ingress, right, you can guarantee coming down within 9. He rerolls advance and charges, and once per battle he can advance and charge. So the reroll means that you're normally getting a 4 or a 5. That's the way the maths works out. He moves 6, so that's 11 inches. If he comes down within 9, he's now pressing straight through the thing that was screening him out. If you can then shoot the thing that was screening him out, he's there. He's 3 inches away from getting it and can reroll charges. Like, absolutely incredible unit. One question: have you ever used Legacy of Combat?
once,
Because I always forget that he
yeah,
has that as well. I always forget that he's
yeah,
got that.
I did it once, and it worked out really well actually.
Legacy of
Uh,
Combat, for those that don't know, means he can heroically
yeah.
intervene for free, which is a great
Even if you,
rule.
yeah, I mean, heroic interventions crap this edition, but I mean, this guy, if you're serious about going to your local RTT or local GT and really pushing for the top tier, you need 2 of these guys. And next game you have, what I suggest you do is during setup or whatever,
Yep.
is halfway through the game, get a tape measure out, and based on that tape measure, say for example, in your head, imagine a Land Raider or a Coronos tagging the middle objective.
Yep.
Now, think about this. Ollie mentioned reach from rapid ingress. Think about this from here. 3 inches plus 6 inches is 9,
Yep.
plus on average 4 or 5. So you're looking at 13 or 14 inches.
Yep.
Then you're looking at your, say for example, you want it to be a 6-inch charge. So say for example you're 20 inches. Now measure 20 inches
It's half a ball.
from the middle objective. Right? From
Yep.
the not from your deployment, from the middle objective.
Mm-hmm.
That is the reach that you can send 5-man Warden Squad with the Blade Champion on that battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Right? From protection, so you're not going to get hit by stuff which debuffs your movement, stops you advancing. You're not going to get hit by that because you're in a Coronos. Now, yes, you need to take some allowances to keep the Coronos alive and stuff like that. However, if he's still alive and he's on the middle objective, just look at the reach, because I say it on here, but it's not until you actually see it on a battlefield that you think, bloody hell, I can transport a 400 point unit, and I don't need to worry about screens. Yeah, you might need to worry about move blocking, okay? Like someone moves blocks you or wraps your Coronas a bit. There is that potential, yes, but I don't need to worry about screens. I don't need to worry about infiltrators or other inquisitorial henchmen. I'm going to move 20 in. I'm going to move out advance and charge, and I'm going to get 20 inches up, and I'm going to slaughter whatever I get into combat with.
100%.
This guy enables you to do that, and you can take an up. You've got 5-man squad and a Blade Champion you've got access to a 4 field of pain on an objective in your opponent's home objective, and if they're an army that only interacts with you in the shooting phase, a single phase of damage, 4 field of pain in that phase, and the amount of investment even if he does kill you, he's going to have to put his entire army into that unit, and
Okay.
then you can rinse and repeat.
I was going to say, so we love running him with Wardens. I think that's the 4+ Feel No Pain, and his reach is just incredible. There is a shout to make him guard, because if you can get that range, you can flip an objective, because you test for objective control at the start of every phase. he then is re-rolling all wounds. And if you've got a couple of shields in there, so you've got 4 wounds on your guard, you can bring one of the models back, etc., etc., etc. I don't hate him if you've got a spare one going in with guard as well. And at 120 points, he's really, really, really point efficient.
I mean, I don't hate him with guard. I don't like. I think his melee ability for the. Okay, so he's got 3 melee abilities. One is anti-horde, which is dreadful. Strength 5. He actually,
it's only 9 attacks. It's not worth it.
Sustained 1, but you're going to get that anyway with the guitar probably.
Exactly.
So especially if you're going into hordes.
If he's 9 attacks, AP2 sustain 1, I'd be like, yeah, I can see something like that. But AP1 is terrible. AP2 is what it should be. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the precision is really good. Don't forget he's got the precision. I always forget.
Always forget that.
I always put Veiled Blade on him, so his precision would have 8 attacks, or at least on one of them, or one of my blade champions. So he'd have 8 attacks. But where the money is the Victus, the Vault Sword Victus profile, which is the Dev Wounds one.
Yep.
That's it's only 5 attacks. It is 7 with Veiled Blade, but it's Strength 6, Neg 3, 3. That's really good because it's Neg 3 and 3, and then it's also Dev Wounds. So where the guard really give him that extra boost is where you're on an objective and you're rolling those wounds. That's where he's good. Or potentially you may get an extra 1 or 2 Dev Wounds out of him, which is 3 damage each. So he is good that way. But I would say the Wardens are probably best. In my opinion, but there's a case for both. And even on the he's good even with the Torch World infantry that he can go with. You know, the Pyrrhotite spears or the Sagittarium. You know, he's good there. Admittedly, they can't shoot if they advance because they're not assault.
Yep.
But you know, they do. Whoever he goes into, he makes better.
Yeah, the strength for us is that, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. The strength for me is with Wardens, the Warden's ability for -1 to wound gets off. The Wardens make him tougher. He moves around very far, and he kills what he wants to kill. That's why I run 2 of them, if not 3.
Do you reckon he'll stay the same points?
I'm hoping that Custodes...
I know we touched on it earlier, but...
I'm hoping the Custodes win rate hides him in plain sight, personally. He's too popular a unit, and I think he's in a lot of lists. I don't think the way that people... Like, I'd be running 3. If not 2, but 3. 3 is an answer. There's a case for that. He's so cheap. He's so good at what he does. I hope he stays the same points.
I think my argument for keeping him the same points is he is cheap, but only relative to the other Custodes characters, right?
Yeah.
If you compare, I mean, your Lord or the Chaos guys.
75 points, 5 attacks.
Yeah.
Hits on 3s, strength 8 -2, 3 damage, death wounds. It's a very similar profile.
Yeah, and you can give him advance and charge if he's with the Chosen.
I can give him advance and charge with the Chosen. He can reroll all hits and wounds as Chaos Undivided for free. Yeah, it's a fair point.
And you can give him packs, can't you?
I can give him what? Yeah, but dark packs. Yeah.
Dark packs.
Yeah. I can give him dark packs. It's a fair point. And he's got the Blade Champion's got no shooting. He's got nothing he can do in the shooting phase. He is a 1 phase unit. He's a 1 hit unit with advanced and charge. It's once per battle, but it's that once per battle that you use it. And if you've got 2 of them going down with Wardens, they can kill 2 big things, take the hit back, kill something else, and that's why I love him with Ceaseless as well, because it means he can then fall back and challenge another thing as well. And so for 2-3 turns, 2 of these with Warden squads can control the middle. They can control how the people interact with your army, and anything that's got that power is huge and impressive to me.
Also, if you are running in with Ceaseless, when you charge into your opponent, charge near walls.
Yep.
Okay. Keep within 6 inches of getting to the other side of a wall. that when your opponent falls back, you can then use Ceaseless to move back behind the wall and hopefully get out of line of sight of whatever he'd already moved to start blasting you. A lot of people, what they do is move units first, then for some reason they fall back last. It's I don't know why, but whenever I play
Yes,
an
it's very
opponent, they
good
always
point.
fall back last. Um,
It's like they're
if they
trying to get
do that,
everything in range to shoot the thing so they can fall back from. It's such a very interesting point. Sorry. Go on, yeah.
yeah. So obviously, don't do a gotcha. 'Cause we hate those, but don't forget to tell him when you're charging. This is the guy with Ceaseless. I can move once you move and finish within 6 inches of me. I can, or 9 inches, I think it is, or something.
It's 9
I
inches.
can do a 6 inch move.
If
Yeah,
you,
I can
if
do
you
a six
finish a
inch
move
move.
within 9 inches, you can then move with Ceaseless.
Yeah, obviously tell him that, and depending if it's a very casual game, tell him just before he makes the move or something, if he's a mate or whatever. If you're at a tournament, don't do the thing where you tell him at the start of the battle and then don't tell him again. Because that's I personally don't agree with that because I don't take half the stuff that people tell when they're going through it. But do mention it when you're charging and say, "This is the guy with Ceaseless. I'm charging him in here. That do you remember what that enhancement does?" And if he says no, just explain it to him again, and then um, make sure your opponent knows what it is, so it's not going to be a gotcha. But you don't have to. In a competitive environment, you don't have to be, oh, I wouldn't do that because otherwise I'll just move back and you can't shoot me. In a competitive environment, if you've told your opponent and you've told him recently as well, take advantage of a mistake he's made.
I,
Um,
I,
you know,
I would say
it
that. Sorry, I would just interrupt that point. I would say there's another benefit to this. If you set it up that you're working out that you're within 6 inches of a wall, you can fall back, you can do whatever, and you say, "This is what I'm trying to do." You make it very clear that when he does the thing and the mistake, or he makes the choice, you can move, and you know it's within 6 inches. If you try and do a gotcha, that's when people can fall out of the table, and that's when you can make a very awkward game because you're like, oh, I didn't know it's within 6, or it's not quite within 6, it's within 5.9321 inches, and then you have to precisely measure. If you sit there and you go, this is what I'm trying to do. Do you remember what Ceaseless does? Ceaseless allows me to fall back when you get within there. Do you understand what that means? Cool. I'm now going to be within 6 inches. Are you happy that I'm within 6 inches? Cool. Roll your dice, play out the turn. In the next person's turn, you can move away. It makes it a lot cleaner, and you're basically protecting yourself in the future.
and like I said, if he goes, oh crap, I forgot, oh crap, you don't need to take that back. You don't need to allow him to take that back, because you've explained it. It's like what I said a few episodes ago. This is a game with so many moving parts, so many different data sheets and facts and figures to remember, right? Everyone's going to make a mistake, and there's going to be an issue. Everyone's going to make mistakes all of the time. If I've had opponents before where every single mistake they've made, like 5-10 minutes later, they've said, "Oh, I didn't mean that. I wanted to do that," and then go to do it, and I've had to say, "I'm sorry, no." I always speak to my opponents at the start of a game and say, "Look, if you tell me that this is what you're going to do, like Ollie said, and then you say, oh, I mentioned that, so I knew that that's what you were going to do," I would definitely take that, allow them to. But if they just out the blue just go, "Oh crap, I didn't mean to do that,"
I've read my stratagems again. Now I can do this. No.
yeah, it's that's not. If I make a mistake, I wear it,
Yep, I agree.
and it's my own fault, and I won't make it again. And that's the standard that I hold my opponents to. And I've lost games by it. I've won games by it, and I don't feel guilty about winning games, but I feel bad about losing games by it. And it teaches me to be a better player. And I think that we can go into a massive debate, and we've already been on for an hour. So
I think that's a good place, but I think that's probably a future episode about etiquette at the table. And,
yeah.
especially with such a minimal army as well. My
Yeah.
final thoughts on what you were just saying there is, I would not let somebody fall back in a different way if they've forgotten that I can do something. What I would let them do is take back the last move where they fall back and I then move my unit. Because otherwise, I'm still in combat with them and I kill them in combat. I don't need to waste my 6-inch move. So I'd be like, yeah, take it back. And then I'm still in combat. I'm still good with the combat. So it's then down to them whether or not
It depends. It depends on potentially that unit, like what strats, what abilities does. For example, if you're in combat with someone who has You're Chosen, for example, and they can fight on death.
Yep. Not the Corn Chosen can, yeah.
Yeah, can they fight on death? Blah blah blah. So, there's so many different connotations.
Yeah. And my point there was like, it's not always the worst thing to let somebody take the last move back and then be like, yep, cool, I'm still going to benefit from this. And I've had a single game and I was playing Custodes into Sisters, and we set out the game and I said, I'm not going to do gotchas, I don't play like that. And the guy did something and he forgot that more than Val, he forgot that I could like fall back and charge or something. And he looked at me and it was turn 4, really close game 5, both of us on 3-1. And he went, I thought we weren't going to do that. And I went, you know what? You're absolutely right. We did say that. I took back a move. I let him move somewhere else, and I still got him. I was just like, there you go. I'll go around the other side. Still got you. He's like, oh, fair enough. But yeah, that the way you play would have haunted me. So that's Ceaseless. Blade. That's a bit off topic, but Blade Champions auto take at least 2 of them in every single list that we make. I think that's plenty of chatting. That's been a long session.
If this is our longest one, if you've made it this far, we're so impressed. But I wonder how many have.
I was going to say, let us know how. Let us know the ranking. The weird one about this is we're going to put up on screen what our rankings already are. So we're not moving them. We're not trying to talk them through. It's very, very clear. So if you wind forward to get to the end and be like, well, I don't know what they said. The entire episode is us talking us through our choices. But let us know if you disagree. Let us know if you like Valerian, because very few people have taken Valerian, and he's awesome. Let us know. Most people, I think, would take Trajan as an auto-take. Most people would probably put the Alara Shield Captain as has-play. I would guess that very few people are looking at Centuras and Alea. Otherwise, I think most people are going to agree with what we've got.
Yeah, I mean, let us know your thoughts in the comment section. We do read every single comment. We're quite new, so we haven't had that many.
We've had loads. I'm really impressed with what we've got.
Yeah. Yeah. But we haven't had like hundreds of stuff or whatever. So, I think we do try to respond to any which actually ask us questions. I think we've had a lot of really good feedback around these videos, and a lot of people have said to us that it's kind of making them think about the faction in a slightly different way, which is great.
That's what we wanted.
Yeah, exactly. So please do, if you want to engage and make a comment, let us know your thoughts, or even just tell us, what happened with one of these units in a game of yours that surprised you or made you think differently about them or something. Please do, let us know. And yeah, it's all about just kind of creating a space where the wider Custodes community can talk. And we did originally start out to be talking about it from a purely competitive standpoint, but kind of more and more people have said to us, I'm new to the faction and I'm really struggling. So we're kind of been really pleasantly surprised that the watchers have been, the people engaging with us have been across the whole spectrum of the faction players, which has been really nice, and it's been really got heartwarming, to be honest.
Yeah, my final thoughts on that, because it's going to be towards the end and no one's going to be listening, but everything that people write, all the comments, we literally discuss every single one of them. We're always sending it backwards and forwards. Does this challenge our opinion? Does this do that? Does this do that? And that's why we come back with like quite lengthy responses, because we've actually thought about it and discussed it and like been like, oh no, but we could still do it like this. Or, oh no, oh yeah, that's actually a fair point. We haven't thought about that. So do write the comments. We do read them. We do take them on board, and we actually do discuss them. It's not like we think that we're always right. We know that sometimes we're wrong. Well, I'm never wrong, but sometimes we could be wrong. So like, comment, subscribe, chat, whatever. We'll see you in the next one, I think.
Yeah, see, hopefully there's a data slate, so we'll be speaking about that next.
Hopefully there's a data slate. Hopefully it's more.
Yeah. Speak to you soon, everyone.
All right, guys. Night.